Hello everybody. Welcome to the third webinar in our series of short weekly webinars that cover Phi's functionalities and capabilities. I'll wait just a minute for more people to show up. 1 minute or two. Okay, so again, welcome and thank you all for being here. And so this is the third in a series of weekly webinars that we do to introduce Phi to our users and explain some of its capabilities. So let me, my name is Stefanos. I'm one of the co-founders of Phenometry. We built Phi, which, as you know, is a cloud-based 3D design application focusing on freeform surface design. And last week, I quickly introduced edge design. So how you use your edges as a means to convey your design intent. And in this way, how you can create shapes very quickly within Phi. And a reminder to subscribe to our channel and follow us on the social media of your choice. We're always looking for more followers. So today I will focus more on colors, materials, the visual side of things, various options you have for defining how your models will look within your design environment. And I will also give a couple of quick, what I call power moves, so some examples of how you can get to some good design results pretty quickly. And all right, so let me switch to Phi by exiting full screen mode. So I'll be using Onshape as the environment within which to run Phi. I mentioned briefly earlier that in previous webinars that you can run Phi independently on a browser tab on its own and still be connected with Onshape if you have an Onshape account and have access to all of your Onshape documents and work and everything. In this case, I'm just running Phi within Onshape. So just a quick reminder, in case you do not have Phi yet, you can visit the Onshape App Store and get it from there. So it will appear in the Design and Documentation tab. And here it is. You click on this and you purchase Phi. Actually, you get a free version, free trial license of Phi, and then you can later decide what you want to do with it. So back into Onshape, I will open Phi in the plus menu where you find all of the applications that you may have acquired from the Onshape App Store. So Phi runs in a new tab, as you see here, and it's loading within the Onshape environment. A reminder to have a look at the introductory videos we have by clicking on this icon. They will open on the right if you haven't. But for now, I will just proceed. I always start with a simple cube. I select this model from our predefined shapes and I give some dimensions. I will just leave it at 1 centimeter. Just to show you some things about, as I said, visualizations and colors and things like that. So some of this stuff I quickly covered in the first tutorial, I think. I just browsed through everything, but now I'll spend a little more time to focus on everything. So you remember that any model consists of 3 types of elements: vertices, edges, and faces. And you can just move these around, deform your edges, etc., and your faces are automatically recalculated and remain attached to your edges. So at the bottom of the screen, I have various controls with which I can affect the appearance of my objects. And for instance, I can decide to hide all of my vertices, or my edges for that matter. Or I can show the vertices and the edges and hide my faces. And in fact, if I select some of the faces, I can hide just those. So I can have a look at the inside of my object and then bring everything back. Now, just one note, as you see, whenever I hover over any button, I get a little window that pops up, and this contains information about the specific functionality. And if I click on the Read More button, I can get a full help for the specific tool. So this is very useful, but I will get rid of these for now, just so they don't get in the way. So from the settings menu, I deselected the tooltips option. So now these tooltips will not be showing up. All right. The next icons at the bottom of my screen allow me to rotate my viewpoint from the front, the side, or the top. And also I can select any face and then use this button here to rotate my viewpoint so that it's perpendicular to the selected face. And if for any reason I zoom very much in or out, or I have more objects in my scene, this little magnifying glass icon will bring everything back centered in the screen and fully visible. I already mentioned that you can freely rotate your objects, or you can rotate them with the arrow keys 15 degrees at a time, up and down, left or right. And we can also lock the rotation so that now it will always happen around a vertical axis or a horizontal axis. This is quite convenient. And we can also display our coordinate system, which consists of 3 planes, top, side, and front. And this is interactive, so if I click on any plane, I will switch to a view perpendicular to that. And if I click again, I switch to the opposite view, which is basically the same effect that you can have by using the bottom buttons that I mentioned earlier. There's a shadow plane that can appear and a shadow is projected onto it. We find that in some instances this is very useful, especially to give you a better understanding of the 3D volume of your models. There's a grid that you can snap to, and in case you are not aware of this, there's also section planes. So if I click on this button here, a box appears around my object, and then I can simply push the sides of this box and cut section views inside my body. Alright, now at this point I will mention one other visualization option that you have, again from the settings menu. You can decide to display the inside of your object with a different color, specifically red. And you see now that the inside has assumed this red color. And we find that this is useful because in some cases, if you have too complicated shapes, and especially in the section view, it can be a little confusing to make sure if you're looking at the inside of your body or the outside. So this is helpful. Okay, and since I'm in section view, let me mention that with the icon that is right above from this one, I can hide my section planes. Wait, let me bring them back and actually do a section. So I can hide my section planes and I can still work on my model. So here I can, for example, deform these edges, or I can move my vertex, and I'm working in section view, although the section planes are not available, are not visible. And then I can also completely exit the section view mode. All right, now from the left side of the menu at the bottom, we have these 2 little icons. The first one allows us to switch between solid view and wireframe view. And wireframe view is completely interactive again, so I can deform my edges and see the triangulation of them. And this can be sometimes useful, or it can be just a different visualization setting. Some people like to see the way in which the surfaces are triangulated. At this point, I'd like to mention that this triangulation does not reflect the actual quality of the surfaces. It's just a visual effect. So we triangulate the faces at specified densities of triangles simply for visualization in order to be able to show this on the screen. The underlying quality of the faces is not related to the number of triangles. It's actually very high precision, and we can see this if we'll be exporting faces and studying them into, for example, within the OnShapes surface examination tools. Again, from the settings menu, I can specify how many triangles I want to have per face. So the default value is 1600, but I can go as far as I want. For example, I can go up to 15,000 triangles per face. And you see now that you have a much denser triangulation. And if I switch to solid mode, there's not much visible difference, but in some cases you can see more detail in this high number of triangles. And the only problem is that if you go so high in so many triangles, some of the operations will become slightly slower. And so usually we recommend that we work on a more lower number of triangles. So I'll just go back to, I'll go to 3000 for now, which is good enough, I think. All right, so underneath this button, there's another icon which allows us to go into hidden line mode. So now we're seeing not only the edges and vertices that are on the front of our object, but also the ones that are hidden from it on the behind. And not only do we see them, but they're also interactive. So I can click and deform an edge, or I can move a vertex which is on the rear side of my object. And this is in some cases quite convenient. For example, if you want to select various edges or vertices, you can do it by selecting them through the object instead of having to rotate on the opposite side. And again, staying at the bottom left corner, next to this icon that, as I mentioned, switches to triangulated view, we have one more icon for colors. So I can either set the color of my entire body, or I can select some faces and then set the color of these faces only. And next to it, materials. So we have a pre-selected set of materials which have different properties, more shininess, more opaque, plastic-like, more metal, or even a glass version, which now we have the inside red. So let me remove this. Yes, so the entire body is almost like made of glass. Now, these are only visual choices. They don't really affect the quality or anything like that, but the working environment is also it's important to be able to work on a shape and have a visualization that corresponds to what we have in mind. So we find that these are useful. Now, another way to affect the visual side of your working environment is again through the settings menu that I mentioned earlier. So we already saw that you can hide or show the tooltips that come up. We can also hide the labels underneath the buttons, just for a little cleaner interface. And we have what we called an expanded layout mode. So let me explain what this is. As you see, the body that I have here is actually passing and visible behind my interface, all these buttons. This is the expanded layout. If I unselect this, deselect this, then we get a solid black background all around the interface. The expanded layout gives a little more space. And on top of that, if you click on the Phi icon on the top left, you can hide all of your icons from the screen. So you get a clean screen, which is usually convenient if you want to do a screen grab or get some images from your model. And then by clicking again, we bring everything back. So let me get into this menu again. All right, our choice was to go for a dark interface, but you can also select a graded grayscale or a white interface for that matter, if this is something you're more familiar with. Most people actually are. Still, I don't know, we like the dark side. You can also affect what we call the scene, and this is actually some lighting settings that will produce reflections on your more shiny surfaces. So for instance, if I go for this much shinier material, you see here that there are some colored reflections. Again, we think that they can give a different feeling while you do your design work, and also different lighting, a little more colorful, a little more plain, these types of things. I mentioned the number of triangles, and I also mentioned that you can switch the inside of your models to red. And the rest of the settings down here, I don't think we need to go into now. They're not related to visualization. Okay, now we spoke about section view, colors, materials. Right. As always, if you have any questions, please send them in the chat, and I'll be very happy to answer them, or some of my colleagues who are also available online will answer them in case I don't notice them right away. Now, I would like to spend a few minutes to give you an example of how you can use Phi to design something a little more specific. And I will cover some things in this example that are actually the topics of next webinars that will come up in the following weeks, but I think that's fine. You can consider it like a sneak preview, let's say, of what's available. So I will start by loading a reference image. So I haven't spoken about references, but in Phi you can use either reference objects that you can bring in, for example, from your Onshape environment. Anything you have created in an Onshape part studio or a part can be brought into Phi as a reference. Or you can load STL files and use these as reference. Or you can bring in images, and in this case I will do the latter. So I have an image that I have already uploaded within my Onshape document. It's a screenshot of a Bialetti Mocha machine, and I will just hit load. I could have specified the dimensions for the height or width or everything. I didn't, just to proceed with this. So this is just an image that is now available within our interface. And what I want to show is how I would go about recreating this little plastic handle, which is an interesting shape. It's kind of freeform. It's not just a cylinder or a cone. It's a little more abstract. And I just wanted to point out some of the moves that I would do, and also show a little bit the result. So I have mentioned that this is the icon for restarting a model, as we did at the beginning of this webinar, where I brought in a cube. The one right underneath it is an icon for bringing more models within the current environment. So I will use this, and I will bring in a cylinder. Again, I left it at 1 centimeter dimension. That's pretty large. It's fine. And so I have this cylinder in my 3D space and this image sitting there in the middle. And I'll switch down to this view. Now I will select my entire cylinder, either with a box select, or I can shift click on any face. And if you remember from previous webinars, by shift clicking we select the entire model, whereas with just click I select one face. Or I can hit the A shortcut for all, which selects basically everything. And all we have now is the cylinder, so the result is the same. Then I hit M, which is the shortcut for our move manipulator, which we have also used in the past. And then I will use these little balls to resize my cylinder. So if I just click on one ball and push it and pull it, I will get a redimension along the axis that I selected, the red one in this case. But if I do this with the shift key pressed, then I get a proportional resizing of the entire cylinder. So it all becomes smaller. And I will then use this plane element from my manipulator to shift my cylinder into place. I will resize it a little more. I will zoom in, and then I will rotate it to bring it roughly at some point along this handle. It needs to be a little smaller. Okay, I think that's about right. I'm not going for full precision now, just to give you a few quick examples. Okay, so my cylinder is now placed within this handle. I own such a Mocha machine, and I know that the handle is not exactly cylindrical. It's actually slightly depressed in one direction. So I will select the whole thing again, bring up the manipulator, and I will resize it only in this direction. So it's no longer a cylinder, it's more of a, the cross section is more of an oval shape, an ellipse, let's say. All right. Now, how can I quickly capture this entire shape? The way I would do it is the following. I will grab with the box select just the bottom of my cylinder, so those faces, and then I will bring up the move manipulator, switch again to this view, and I will elongate it a little bit to follow the shape, and then also shrink it a little bit with a scale. Now, I think I mentioned in the previous webinar that we have a pop-out or an extrude command. We call it pop-out, and the shortcut for it is P. And you can hit it while you're in this move manipulator mode. So I just hit P, and I get a little extrusion in that direction. And now I can pull this further down. I will rotate this new face, actually set of faces that was created for me, and we'll go all the way here. Again, P to give me one more step. Let me move closer, and I will rotate this so it's roughly aligned, and I will rescale it also and place it there. And one last pop out to arrive at this point here. So you see that it was quite fast and easy to capture roughly the shape of this handle. Now, we're not done, of course, because what you see here, I can temporarily hide the image, is not really a good looking shape, and it's actually not smooth even. So we have a little bit of work to do, but thankfully with Phi this is very simple. So first thing I will do is I will move in here and actually directly deform this edge to go closer to the shape of the handle. So I have freedom to directly manipulate my edges, I'm not bound by anything. And then I will box select all of this part, which I consider to be pretty nicely placed, and I will hit the X key, and now I'm jumping ahead. I know we haven't spoken about fixing, but with X you can fix part of your model. So now this is completely protected. No matter what I do, I cannot mess with it, I cannot change the shape of it. And I will explain in a moment why I did that. So basically I locked this part of the model. Now I will go down to this other end of the handle, and I want to pull out this vertex perpendicular to this face. So if I simply click and drag my vertex, it's completely free to go in any direction that I move my mouse. Whereas if I do the same with the Shift key pressed, it will be moving perpendicular to the face. And you see this little green axis with a circle, that's an indication that now we're moving perpendicular to this face. Now I will do the following. I will select these faces here and also on the opposite side, simply by clicking on them, and I will fix these as well to make sure that this shape doesn't change. And now I will select these four edges and I will hit the smoothen command. Again, I'm talking about things that we will discuss at length in following webinars, but when I hit smooth, what I ask is for Phi to make the transitions between all of my selected edges smooth and tangent. And I will do the same in the opposite direction, and I will hit smooth once again. So now I have completely, let me hide the image for a moment, smoothened all of these transitions, and I have achieved a nice rounded end for my handle. I could work more on it, I could make it more, give it a different shape, change the direction of these lines, but I think for now I'll just leave it at that. We don't have much time left. And then I will box select this and fix it as well. So that's all taken care of, let's say. And now I will do the following. I will shift click on this edge. And if you remember, with a shift click, I select the entire loop of edges that is formed around my body at once. And then again, I will hit the smooth command, which will give a smooth transition around all of these edges. And I can do again the same in the opposite direction, selecting now this loop of edges. Of course, as I mentioned, the fixed ones will not be changed. And I get the same over there. Now, in order to smoothen this pair of edges, you noticed maybe that the vertex moved. If I am not happy with this, because I want, for example, my vertices to be exactly at the location where I placed them, I will repeat this, but instead of hitting just the smooth command, I will do it with the shift key pressed. So with a shift click, we are smoothing everything, but not moving the vertices. So again, as I have mentioned in the past, we use the shift key as a modifier in almost all of our commands. Basically, whenever you see a shortcut, you can be pretty sure that with a shift key pressed, there will be a different version of this shortcut available. All right, so let me bring back the image. As I said, we're not going for precision here, but I think we pretty quickly got to a shape that is relatively decent. Of course, we could proceed going upwards, but I only have 3 minutes left. So the last thing I wanted to do is simply to hit on this green arrow button, and let me bring back the tooltips for a moment. As you see, this is a send to on shape button. So if I click on it, and I can give this a name, for example, handle 1, since it's not complete. What happens is that behind the scenes, Phi is now translating this shape into an industry standard format. We use step as an intermediate format with complete precision. We're not bound by the number of triangles I discussed. This is a completely high precision version of this model. And this is sent over to Onshape, and Onshape automatically translates it into a part studio for us. And it appears in a new tab down here on the left, as you see. So, okay, the scale is completely off. I need to zoom in. There we are. And let me also hide all the planes. So this is the handle that I designed within Phi, available to us in Onshape. And now you can use this as a part for your designs. You can incorporate it in assemblies. You can do any operations on it. For example, I can do a filleting here. There you are. Or you can do shelling or anything else you want with it. So this was just like a quick overview of some moves you can do within Phi to get a design completed quite fast. And the last thing I want to show here is I will select everything. Shift X is the unlock unfix command. So because I did this part pretty fast, I'm not very happy with how it came out. I would like it to be a little less, a little more rounded, let's say. So I'm just moving this. Let's say I will exaggerate just for the visual side. And now if I hit send to Onshape again, and I move to my Onshape tab that we were inspecting before, you will see in a moment that the change of this handle, the shape of this handle will change automatically as soon as we have exported the new version. There it is. You noticed the change in the shape, but all of my downstream work, for example, the fillet that I had put there, is still in place. And even if I had changed these edges, I wouldn't have lost my fillet. So, yeah, I think that's it for today. I'm trying to see if there's any questions in the chat. For some reason I cannot scroll very well. No, I think there's no questions, which is fine. So again, thank you. Let me switch back to my little webinar. Just like every week, this will be saved on our YouTube page, but you can also find a version of this webinar in our third tutorial on our website, if you hit on the Learn tab. And next Wednesday we meet again, and also you can share your designs if you want. You can send something over to us at this email, and we'll be very happy to showcase it, discuss it, or maybe help resolve any problems you have with it. So thank you all for being here, and see you next week.